In logistics, today was a total failure in the morning because of a few things. So I woke up today around 9 a.m. Today was a late start, but I still had to prepare food for my dogs and help feed the chickens. And I was unable to cook breakfast because I still had to do those same chores, and that also took time. So at around 9:33 a.m., after showering and hurrying up, I had left for school, and I knew I was not going to make it to first period at all. I used an excuse for my parents and had them call the school, and they all agreed about it. I got there around 10:19 a.m. for second period. Thankfully, I was not late though. The only bad thing is that as I went to a restaurant nearby, they had this little chicken bowl. This chicken bowl, when you use it in the order kiosk that they have, it only costs around like $7.50. But when I tried to do it in the actual with the cashier, it costed like $10.32. So instead of going to that restaurant, I just decided to go back and head straight for school after that. Now during PE roll call for the second period, Kalisa and Salif and some other boys are arguing about how Salif had apparently got rejected by seven girls, and the girl blew up some other funny accusations that I still don't remember that everybody else refuted. The teacher then had a roll call, and I was also confused that everyone had so many picks for basketball for the final unit that we're gonna have. Yet there are only three players a day before who are playing. Now all of a sudden there's like 10 players at this point. The teacher jokingly said to one of the boys to pretend they know how to play basketball so you don't end up switching their unit. And they laughed all about it and said later on that he didn't hear anything from the girl regarding the drama, and they all laughed about it. Now as for PE, we did a basic walk today, and the boys made some funny remarks. They're confused because there was a would you forever be a child in an adult's mind or an adult relative to a child's mind? And the boys confused this question because it's very easy to get the terms confused. And it highlights how sharp English language has to be. Otherwise, you get confused subjects with the pronouns and the ideas, obviously. The question that they were trying to say is that would you forever be a child in an adult's mind or have an adult's mind stuck in a child? So just thinking of it that way. At this time, I went with Maurice's group for volleyball today, but there are no volleyballs today, sadly, and the rest of the time we just sat down, and eventually I left for the next period. Since I was late today, I unironically thought that we were still in block schedule, and it got reconfirmed in bias because during PE someone said, ready for the project in third period, and for about 3 minutes, I was literally in what I thought was my third period this time, waiting. But then I realized that this is not block schedule. This is not the right place to be at. I'm actually supposed to be at science right now, so there was a lot of unfamiliar people. A girl that I talked to at the beginning of the year was also walking right beside me, and there was like a ton of other people who I did not recognize at all. So thankfully, third period, I got to science class this time, and today was a regular class today, and we had a partner quiz. The teacher was busy, thankfully, so I was not marked late today. And of course, the teacher also said to two girls in my classroom that they kind of disrupt and steal the class's spotlight a little bit, so sometimes they don't get concentration. And the quiz was about understanding hills and mountains on a visual scale and on a scientific scale, not like actual drawings of the hills itself. And I didn't really understand too much of it, but I got like a 60% on the quiz, and it's not graded too heavily, thankfully. I decided to spend the rest of this time on the. I worked on Spanish work, and I didn't do this morning, and I was able to finish up only one part, which was the notes. And fourth period, I waved to another random boy and another random girl nearby. And as for fourth period, we had the project overview being in our boards today, and the final revisions that we had before sending it to the gym. And we filled out about 6 boxes in our work check sheet about other presentations that we have. And I tried to take this time to talk to other new random people, but I still had to do my stuff and check out other presentations. And there was also one of the kids who were asking me to help to find his pencil since I didn't give it back to him. It was that same kid that the teacher talked to me about yesterday. So I looked at one of the papers which had bachelor. I believe it was one of the teacher's presentation board rules for the class. It's one of those papers with the teacher's name on it, marked on a table where the class should put their boards on for that class, I believe. Anyways, big credit to Naomi Lopez, Jaden Daniels for the presentation board, Science Without Humanity, along with Kaylee Gonzalez and Hector Martinez's board for the Holocaust. And the way they explained their presentations was so sharp, and even the images that they used, guys, like I felt really uneasy with that, especially with the visuals, and especially within the historical sense, not the uncomfortable sense. And the board itself is good in terms of how they decorate it. I had a lot of thinking when I was reading that. Under Transparency Act of March 3rd, obviously, if you guys don't want your names mentioned, I'll cut this out. Just send a DM. Anyways, for lunch period, instead of setting a new socialization talk, I decided to finish up the last Spanish assignment that I had. It was a conjugamos assignment. And the only problem is that I thought this was due today, but in fact, this was actually due Monday at 3:30 p.m., not Friday at 3:30 p.m. And because I think this is because of bias, because I came to school late, I thought it was block schedule. Anyways, I did end up finishing it surprisingly, but at the cost that I could have interacted with other new people, but I wasn't able to. Anyways, I did hang out with Rayon's group today, and I played a big game of Uno with them. Credits to you guys, and big credits to Levi. Fifth period, since I was finishing up the conjugamos assignment that I thought was due today, I already finished it. I ran down to English class, and I did not have any coins that students would be late today that I would be betting. And there's a substitute today, which is hypocritical since I showed up late today to school, and why would I bet that students would be late if I was late myself? Instead, I just left the door open and I latched it. The boys and the girls in my row had talks typically about assignments, and the math was going on today. One of the boys told me no touching in handshakes because he set a policy where no one can touch him because of sickness and to avoid sickness, coochies, I guess, if you guys get that mention. A girl, as she was walking, also called me cute in like the little boy way. And the little boy in my row said that apparently she was man dogging me, simply staring at me. Since the boy said that, she said like, so you're calling me a B. to that boy, and then they all had a laugh after that. Of course, there's no real disrespect here, guys, as I'm saying they tolerate this. Anyways, after this, we had a Parallels of Indifference assignment, which was made by Eli Weasel. To complete, and we finished the article the teacher gave us, and there was a substitute teacher today, as I said, and I found the article was quite interesting. And as for sixth grade, we had a shapes quiz and learned how to dilate them. The teacher quizzed us. I thought I was going to fail this since I really don't get the shapes, but these were actually the basic questions that I'd understand, and I understand how to solve these, at least except two of them. But I made a major mistake when I was calculating on one of them because I thought 39 times 3 equals 156 when it was actually 117. I got 13.9 as an answer when I used 156, but in reality it was actually 14, so one for one of the shaped sides. Thankfully, I did correct it before I turned in, and it was actually 14 as the answer, and the answer was 117 eventually. And later on, after, I went to a Corky's restaurant that I usually go to, and surprisingly, the server Rebecca, who always had us to serve, we always had before she took a month off to take care of her mom, and now she's only usually available from Friday night 5 p.m. to closing. Months ago, when we were there, obviously she was serving us. There was this one time we were there out of cornbread muffins, and she said she would offer me a free one next time that she'd come back, and she kept that promise and gave me a free cornbread muffin. And if you guys do ever go to that Corky's restaurant, it's the one that's near the Vons, all the way near. It's near Laverne, but only like halfway there along the 210th freeway. If you guys do get her, her name is Rebecca. She's the one in that she's a server in there. She's in white clothing. And if you guys ever see her, if you guys ever go to that Corky's restaurant, tell her that the dad and the kid who visit were here. And of course, if you guys do want to, make sure to ask them for a corn. Oops, guys, this is me editing the video right now, and I meant to say cooties instead of coochies because the word coochies has a negative connotation to it. There's a big connotation with that means something else. So phonetic similarity. This connects all the way back to when I was talking about P and stuff, about how sharp English has to be, at least when you gotta pronounce things and context too.